All right, welcome back, everyone. This lesson is, it's just like it's a core lesson of anybody that I work with. So I have called it the picture of you, and I'm just opening things up in the background right now. All right. And I'm going to share my screen. So if questions come up, please feel free to write them down. I'm almost can guarantee that there's going to be a time to share at the end or any questions that you might have. But just in the meantime, just in case. Right. So this is a lesson on the conscious and the subconscious mind. And what is getting in the way of your business? So I want you to imagine that this is you. Okay, when I ask people, where is your mind? I want you to think about where your mind is, right? Like point to it right now. Most people point to their heads. So it seems that we associate our brains with our minds. And I mean, as in a yogic perspective, like a yogic science perspective, I have labeled the nervous system as your ego because I think that it is. But we'll dive into that later. So here's a person, here's you, right? And we've got your mind in your head. And we can divide the mind into two different parts. We've got number one, the subconscious mind, and number two, the conscious mind. Ideas of the conscious mind are based off of kind of like when we're born and what we're taught and what stories we've created within the subconscious mind. And then we've got the physical body. So I want to take out any idea of spirituality from these lectures and honestly bring them back to science. It's explained in like a cartoony way to make it like understandable and relatable, but this is all based on physics and quantum physics. Manifestation is bringing things into the physical. That's what it is. What I like love hate is what we have done as a practice of, commercialization of spirituality, also known as cultural appropriation. Basically, just like superfoods, blueberries are a superfood. So are words that become popular that we sell off of, right? Think about, I know for me, my experience, speaking from personal experience, I spent a lot of my life not really aware of the word abundance. And then all of a sudden, abundance and abundant was like all over the place and a part of like my own vocabulary that I would use in my selling of my programs, etc. So I think that just like we have superfoods, like acai. Does anybody remember like Monet? And just like these different things that hit, like cacao has been one of those superfoods, and then it can be like really extravagant, and then it can be blueberries. Words do the same thing. And I think over the last little while, manifestation has been one of those super words that are used to market and sell. And it's like, oh, I manifested that. It's like, yes, actually, we manifest everything. Like this world that we're living in, it's a manifestation. That's it. This body you're in, it's a manifestation. And if you thoughts are things. So if you think like, just for example, I've got this physical body and I want to change the appearance of this physical body, there's the thought, and then it becomes a thing. Right? We've even got the idea of like the ability to have smartphones was here at the beginning of the earth. Right? It's not like, oh, all of a sudden now we're able to. No, this same knowledge and accessibility was here when the world was created, whatever that looks like. It's just the evolution has brought us to the place where we have manifested it, right? So manifestation, it's not like some powerful super word, but it also is at the same time. And I think that a big part of abundance and manifestation is, action, consistency, clarity, authenticity, vulnerability, showing up, doing the work. So when I speak about manifestation, it's like it's the presentation into the physical world. If you want to change your body, it starts with a thought. Let's just say you have extra weight on, and I'm only using examples like for me, okay? This is not like directed at anyone. I had a relationship with my body that's not been healthy. I've always been like a bigger girl. And I've thought like, I want to lose weight. It starts here before it starts here. Right. And then I do the thing, or I don't. I do the opposite that either helps me lose weight or the opposite, like whatever that looks like. So that's manifestation. It's really not that complicated. Thoughts are things. And this is like the originator. So we've got the conscious mind. The conscious mind is like the thinking mind. It's the analytic mind. It's the mind that's educated. It is our intellect. And oh, this is very Costa Rican. I don't know how well my microphone picks up, but there's someone driving by in a vehicle with a loudspeaker, like probably selling eggs or something. But when I first came here, I was like, what's happening? And I was like, oh, they're selling bread. Oh, okay. We're not dying. The world's not ending. Okay. So the conscious mind can actually choose the thoughts that it lets in. It can accept or reject thoughts. The subconscious mind is your emotional mind. There is no other option other than to accept. It cannot reject, and it cannot determine the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So imagine you are born. There's a couple ideas. You're born with all of the knowledge of the world, everything, all your past lives, everything, whatever that looks like, you know it all. And then you learn how to be a human in this world and like lose all the knowledge that you had. Or you're born with no knowledge and you learn all your knowledge. Whichever one it is, we won't know until we die. So what I do know is as this empty vessel that can only accept, you learn everything, right? You're raised usually by two main people, but there are variations, grandparents, foster parents, uncles, aunts, like there's usually these main people in your life that are contributing to your development, your aging, and your knowledge. So think about the concept of you being born with like no knowledge or all the knowledge in the world and it wipes out as you learn knowledge of this world, this physical plane, your physical body, right? You're raised by these people that also have ideals that were taught to them and they're teaching you. So think about this, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. What does that even mean? Because it kind of does actually, because when you log trees, you make money. But like, okay, cool. So you are raised by these people that kind of teach you how to, not kind of, they teach you how to be. In fact, they teach you your ideals, your beliefs, your values, your morals, and your self-image. It's like this. Sometimes we can be very emotional about it, like your values are taught, your self-image are taught. But look at it this way. You were also taught how to put on your pants. Okay, do you remember that exact day that someone taught you how to put on your pants? Probably not. I've never met anyone that remembers, like, oh yeah, I remember. It was a sunny day in the fall. And I had my shorts with me, like, but what did happen was ever since you were born, people have been putting pants on you, sleepers, diapers, like they've been putting some form of pants, shorts, a covering on your bottom since you were born. And as you grew older, that continued to happen. But not only did you start to notice like pants were being put on you, you actually started to notice like the people were putting pants on themselves as well. So you witnessed how your parents put their pants on. There was probably never a day where attention was drawn to it, but at some point in your life, you decided you wanted to put your own pants on. You may have put them on backwards. I've had that experience as well, like not for myself, but having a couple kids where they come down, the pockets are in the front. And I say, oh, they're on backwards. Let's turn them around. Or I just let them have them on backwards because they don't seem to care. Right? It can be that emotional. You learned not only by like people doing it to you, by witnessing the way other people did it, right? There wasn't a day where mom said, lift your right leg, put it in the pant leg, lift it up to your knee, step your left leg in, or however, because I think we all put our pants on like similar but different. But instead, that just happened. And that's how we've learned even our values is by witnessing. And, I had a huge insight one day about my children. I was, I was so hard on myself. And I made a conscious decision, like I am going to tell my kids every day how beautiful they are and how they can do anything because I don't want them to be like me. I want them to love themselves and think they're beautiful. And so I did that. I told them they could do anything they wanted. I told them how beautiful they were, how amazing they were. And when my oldest daughter was 14, I found out that she was cutting herself. She was bulimic. She was having sex. Like I found out all of these things. I couldn't understand why she was like, why her self-esteem was so low because I spent so much time and energy into like making sure she didn't have low self-esteem. What I didn't recognize was every time she took a picture with me, I would tell her, get rid of that picture. I look fat. Where I would try on outfits for hours if I was going out and take them off because I look like crap, or here you can see my gut, or my thighs touch. She learned how to love herself by watching me love myself. And I can tell you it was not, love is not the word that I taught her. And that's when I started to understand, oh, this is how. It's not like I said, listen, you're gross and just give yourself up to people. It was like, no, she watched me. So it's not just like me telling her because I can tell her anything I want, right? It's the actions and the witnessing. So the idea, according to Bob Proctor, is that this is then the formation of your paradigm. In yoga, we call this your ego. In science, I call it your nervous system. So your parents' outlook on, as I mentioned, their own self-esteem, money, body image, that's all taught to you. And then it's sealed in, right? Remember, the subconscious mind, the emotional mind, it cannot accept or reject. It only accepts. Some things I do remember is like the times that I started to recognize that my parents were humans, that like they messed up, that they weren't perfect. And I actually started to recognize that at a very young age. I think I was like 7 and I realized like, I don't think that's normal, whatever normal is. So it's all sealed in. 9 years old. Everything that you're going to believe for the rest of your life, it's already in there. Can you imagine that? And it started when you were a baby, based on the dysfunction and function of the people that raised you. So, what did your parents say about money? How did your parents act about their own bodies, their own images, their own self-esteem? Because they taught you how to do that same thing. I know we were broke. We didn't have a lot of money. My parents would say stuff like that. In fact, my parents were really into cars and racing. And so we would go to like car shows, and sometimes the car needed something, so we would eat macaroni and cheese. The car needed food more than the kids did. So we have like I say we because there's my sister and I were very close in age, and we grew up with like a similar mindset about finances. And you have to work hard. That was another thing. You have to work hard for money. And body image. Oops. Nope. Back. How do I go back? There we go. And body image. I mean, I remember the day that I decided that I was fat. I was driving with my dad. It was raining. I was in the front seat. I didn't have a seatbelt in. We were going over a bridge in Vancouver. And he said, "So what if you're a couple pounds overweight?" I was 6. I was 6. What I heard is I'm fat. I mean, there's more to the story now. I remember like going to him actually just a few years ago and really like doing a lot of work on my own self-image and confidence based on like he was trying to help me. But my dad is like a more chauvinistic man. He told me the perfect woman has a thigh gap. He was in love with a woman that was 6 feet tall, that weighed 99 pounds and was in an eating disorder rehab. And he told me she had the perfect body. She was skin and bones. So that's not me. Even if I was at my thinnest, that would probably never be me. So what I heard is I'm fat and I will never be a perfect woman. So sealed in. I don't even know it. And there it is, strong. Mm-hmm. The hard work for Jen, hard work, right? If you want to make money, you got to work harder. If you maybe even not make that much money, because why does he have, side jobs and a full-time job and still barely making it, right? So this stuff's locked in, and most of the time we're not even aware of it. These quotes that we like repeat, that honestly, like what does that even mean? Money doesn't grow on trees. So now you're 9 and you have all the knowledge that you need to live in this world and be an adult. Great. So we close it up and we've got the conscious mind. So what happens is the thoughts come in and they're either accepted or rejected based on the beliefs that you have in the subconscious mind. Right? You've got thoughts coming at you all day long. Like I'm one of those. I'm sharing my thoughts. Anybody that participates in the conversation, they're sharing their thoughts. We've got social media, we've got the news, we've got other people, the radio, like podcasts, books. There's so much. The government, I don't know, we've got thoughts coming at us all the time. And based on whatever your core beliefs are, your stories are, you will accept or reject thoughts. So let's just look at like, okay, I am a successful business owner. I have been hustling for years. I moved from being a nurse, going to med school, to bringing in all this money as a yoga teacher, right? But if I am not aware that at the core, I have to work hard to make money, and then money doesn't grow on trees, and that it's more like a pie and we have to suffer if we're not working, like, then what am I going to do with the money that's coming in? I'm probably going to evacuate it as quickly as it makes its way in. Right? Because my mindset is really a negative mindset, a lack mindset around finances, a not worthy mindset. I'm not deserving. So as soon as that money comes in, it's going back out. And if I'm not aware of it, then I'm not aware of the reasons that I'm behaving the way I am in the world. And even if we go to the idea of frequency, and it's not even my fault, it's like I'm not aware of like why, I save money by buying the cheap vehicle and then it's broken down all the time. And I'm putting out more money always, constantly. So even when I just can't catch a break, right? These are all based off of stories that we have, frequencies that we're vibrating at, and things that we're attracting towards us. I talk about personal responsibility. Like, how can you take complete and utter responsibility for everything that's happening in your life so you are no longer a victim to circumstance and rather are in charge of creating? If I believe that, so to like the full on story that I have is I'm a fat piece of shit. So I mean, that was the story. How about that? So I'm overweight, but like also I'm not the perfect woman and I never will be, even if I'm just a couple pounds overweight. No big deal. So can you imagine like if I have a partner and my partner comes home and tells me that he loves me or that I'm beautiful, what my response will be? Because I can choose or to accept or reject that. Right? That goes through my conscious mind. You're so beautiful. No, I'm not. I'm a fat piece of shit. Like, don't you know? So instead of accepting that, I will reject it and be like, what do you want? Ever been there? Someone hands you a compliment and you actually think that they want something from you. There's no way that they could actually mean like, duh, they're looking right at you. Can't you see I'm not attractive? Or, I mean, my story based on being raised, my mom was physically abusive. My story is that I'm unlovable. I think I was 3 or 4 when I realized like these thoughts about like the face only a mother could love. So for me, I realized like moms are the ones that'll love you no matter what. And my mom, based on her actions, I didn't get that she loved me. She didn't hug me and tell me she loved me. She hit me and she hurt me when things weren't going well. So I decided I was unlovable. So can you imagine what kind of partner I'm going to attract in? If I'm unlovable, I'm going to attract in someone who's probably not going to treat me the best. Sure, that's on them. The personal responsibility piece is like, well, of course I would attract someone in because I don't even love myself. And to put that on someone else, that they need to love me so I can love myself or think that I'm worthy, it'll never happen. Those are those like if thens. If I find a partner, that thinks I'm beautiful, then I'll love myself. Not gonna happen. Again, victim to circumstance, right? I'm going to determine my worth based on the way other people treat me. That's unfortunate. And the personal responsibility piece is how I allow other people to treat me because I do get to choose. And I know there's a lot of like little mini arguments that could be in there. So I'm not discounting or discrediting that things can be hard. I get it. Like I also have left 2 marriages and it wasn't easy. And the personal responsibility is that like I didn't love myself enough to actually go for like the person that I found now. So that's kind of how the conscious mind, that's like it's repetition. So this is why I go back to the nervous system because you're wired a certain way, right? And then you're taught to think. And so when you think, your electrical system, right, travels down a certain neural pathway. And the way the nervous system works to save energy, to keep you alive, is that when you travel down that same pathway over and over again, it becomes fast tracked. So that fast track is like when you pull back your hand because you burnt it, but you don't even feel it till you've already pulled back. That's a fast track. And so we do things like on autopilot because it takes a lot of time or energy to be present, to choose which thought we're going to have because you've already been taught this one. You know, you're fat, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're not worth it. Like that's just norms. It's just like how you put on your pants every day and don't ever think about it. Those thoughts are that way. And so when that happens and it becomes autopilot, it's through repetition. So while the subconscious mind, you know, can only accept and not reject, that means that we can use our conscious mind to shift the unconscious or subconscious mind. Right? I have a thought like I am a fat piece of poo. And that will be my default without me being aware. I don't just like outright think, oh, I'm a fat piece of poo. No, I think like when someone says I'm beautiful, what do they want? Like they don't really believe that. You know, when I look in the mirror and I go, ugh, I'm so ugly, or whatever thoughts I used to have all the time. That's just the default autopilot that's going. And the only way I'm going to change that is to actually become present. This is all taught in the sutras, which I love. Like we're always saying the same thing, is to be present and then choose a different thought. And that's where affirmations come in. Affirmations come in for us to actually shift the thought. Okay, here's another example to tell you how difficult this can be. And I don't want to make it harder, but it takes consistency and presence. Are you right or left-handed? Right? You've got a piece of paper and a pen right in front of you. With your right hand or your left hand, your dominant writing hand, I want you to write down these 3 words. I love you. Just write that down. See how quickly it was, like how quickly you wrote it, how, you know, how neat your writing is or not neat, that's fine. Great. So that's the default thought. That's the autopilot. You know how to write with your dominant hand. Now I want you to change the pen to your non-dominant. So if you're right-handed, I want you to write with your left hand. And if you're left-handed, I want you to write with your right hand. And I want you to write the exact same thing. I love you. And while you're doing it, I want you to notice how much energy it takes for you to be present. How much energy it takes for you to write this out. It just took like what, 3 to 4 times longer? And look at your writing. How neat is it? Unless, of course, you're ambidextrous. Right? Like, so for you to shift your thought, it's not like you just think one time, oh, I'm amazing. And now that's my new default thought. No, like for you to be good, as good at writing with your non-dominant hand as you are with your dominant hand, you're going to have to write with, I'm just going to say left, you're going to have to write with your left hand every day, like all day for the next 40 years. Because I've been writing with my right hand for 44 years, or let's say 40. So in order for me to be as good with my left hand, I mean, I got a lot of catching up to do. So it takes presence for me to not just like automatically grab the pen with my right hand and start writing. This was a practice Bob Proctor had us do. And for every day for a month, we had to write out like our affirmations with our left hand to bring attention to how difficult it is to shift your mindset. It takes our will. It takes that consistency, that showing up that I keep speaking of like every day choosing to be present. It takes work. And so in order for us to change our mindset from our stories, so there's about 3 core stories and they all stem from I'm not enough. Tony Robbins had us do this work. Like I said, I shared I'm a fat piece of poo. I am unlovable. And then the other thing is, back in the day, my mom was a lot thinner. My dad is like a more muscular person. Like he could eat crap and still be muscular. He's one of those. And then my sister came around and she was like that. My brother came around, he's like that. But I am not. And so the big joke was that I am the mailman's child. And I heard that always. I didn't look like anyone in my family. And so my third story is I don't belong. And I felt it always when I was nursing. I wasn't just an RN. I worked my way from homemaker to care aide to LPN. And the whole time there was always someone that was like better than me. Even as an LPN, I was not a nurse, even though I was. Like it was I never belonged. When I came into the yoga teaching world, I came in with a big body. What's the general? Young, thin, white, middle class? Like I came in with a big body. I was in my 30s when I did my teacher training. Like I didn't fit. I don't belong. I'm not that spiritual. I'm more scientific, like all these stories. So for you, if you're looking for your stories, I can ask you, why don't you have $1 million? And like, what's the excuse that jumps to mind? And I do mean excuse, because you can have $1 million, like if you really want to, and you show up with consistency, writing with your left hand, 10 lines every day, for the next 40 years, you'll have $1 million. Not really, but maybe. But like showing up with that presence and that consistency, you'll have whatever you want. Why don't you? So, some things I'll hear is like, I'm not smart enough. Great, that's a story. Go back. Where did that come from? Right? Now, this isn't necessarily like my parents told me I don't belong. This is me watching, witnessing the fact that I was a mailman's child. And then I like always felt like I was different. That's where the story came from. So it doesn't mean your parents told you stupid, but maybe they did too. And then that's pretty clear. Well, that's where that story came from. But I know a lot of people that I work with that, they got straight A's and still that wasn't enough. Their parents still had some kind of complaint, like their room was too messy or something. So, and then if you answer that question, great. Why else don't you have $1 million? Yeah, I'm unlucky. Other people are lucky. Okay. Where does that story come from? Go back and you'll start to see this repetition, because the idea is the story came from wherever it came from, and then you've been proving it to be true ever since. Right? I chose the partners that I chose to continue to prove that story to be true. I'm unlovable. Look at it. I'm on my own again. I'm unlovable. Look at it. I have to put up with someone not being faithful because nobody else will love me. Right? I just proved it over and over and over again until I just like didn't want to prove it anymore. He does. Many random children. So let's come back to mindset. Okay. Conscious and subconscious mind. So the idea here is that 99% of the population of the world is in an ignorant mindset. Now, ignorant isn't bad. Oh, okay, great. I have a question from Monica. And so I cut out during the 3 stories where I'm unlovable, I'm fat, and I don't belong. Yes. Yes. Thank you. So ignorant mindset, right? I love this because whenever I teach it, so I'm just going to call it out right now so nobody does it, unless of course you want to. Whenever I teach this, a lot of spiritual people identify as the 1%. And I'm going to say like, that's good for you. And honestly, the 1% is like Jesus Christ and Buddha. Okay. And you're probably not there. And if you are, that's awesome. I don't want to bring you down, but like, 99% of us are ignorant. And if we look at the sutras talk of the five kleshas, right? The kleshas are our obstacles to happiness or our reasons for suffering. And in non-dualistic yoga, the idea is, that I'm God. Whether I'm a part of God or I'm a creation of God, I am God. And if I forget that, then I misidentify as the ego. I misidentify as the labels that I use to describe myself, right? God is not fat. God is not ugly. God is not stupid. And so if I have these descriptors, then I'm ignorant. I've forgotten who I am. I am a creation of God. I am a part of God. And God is like perfect. So, oops. So when I say the 99% are ignorant, it really is that we have forgotten who we truly are. And we'll look at the 1% over here. So I am talking to you, even if you are awakened, even if you do know a lot, that's awesome. And if you are from an ignorant mindset, then we think about that of like a lack mindset or a negative mindset, right? We tend to default to the negative. My plane's going to crash, right? I'm going to be the one that gets attacked by a grizzly bear instead of like, I'm going to win the lottery, right? Chances are the same in both, but how many people are like, I'm going to win the lottery? No, they're like, I'm going to get attacked by a cougar, which is actually more realistic for Melanie based on where she lives and how many cougars attack people on the island. So anyways, so what happens is like, if we look at this overall, we've got conscious mind. So the thoughts that come in that we will let in are worry, shame, and doubt, because we've been taught fear. I came home or came back to Canada. I call Costa Rica home now. I came back to Canada a while ago. My sister and I are sitting in like the not the Best Western, but one of the Langley hotels, the hotels in British Columbia. And I'm sitting back, we're eating like a continental breakfast, and I see the news, and it's the weather. And the weatherman says, today we are being invaded by an atmospheric river. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean, Meredy? And she's like, oh, it's going to rain, but we're being invaded. And it's a river from the atmosphere. Like, it can't be rain. And that's when I realized like the level of fear mongering that is just ever present when I'm back home in Canada. And it's not here. When we talk about veil of illusion, right? The veil is thicker when I go back to North America. I feel it. I get busy. I feel it. Anyway, so I can just identify so strongly with this, because as soon as I heard we're being invaded by an atmospheric river, I started to be like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? I'm going to die. That's immediately where I am going to die. And it's just actually raining. So the idea is that I already said thoughts are things, right? So they come from nothing and then they're eventually something. We can see this in the world, is like, if you look out into the sky, maybe not now or in any tropics, but like it's blue sky, right? There's no thing, there's nothing. And then at some point there will be these white wispy clouds. And I mean, if you were up there, you could try to touch the cloud, but you can't really touch it. So it's kind of like a thought, right? Like it's something, but I can't touch it. Eventually, that white cloud will drop water on you and you can hold water in your hand, not a lot of it, but you can, hold and touch a raindrop. That's manifestation is happening all the time. That's why it's not that spiritual. Like it's going on. And so that's how nothing becomes something. And so when we let in thoughts of worry, shame, and doubt, because subconsciously we're attached to fear, then we have to express it. Energy in motion. These things, these thoughts are things, and they're going to come through our body. So the physical expression of an ignorant mindset is anxiety. Right? And I think it's like an epidemic now. It's like it's like a label to attach to. I talk to my kids all the time when they're like, I am anxious. I'm like, no, you have anxiety. Right? My partner, he's said to me like, I am bipolar. I'm like, no, you have bipolar. Right? There's a difference because identifying as it leaves us with no escape. Recognizing that we have this and there are tools allows us to navigate. It doesn't devalue it. It just allows us to navigate. So I'm not sure about you, but I have felt anxiety in my body, right? And when I feel it, I wouldn't label it as feeling good. So most of the time, what we do when we feel anxiety is we try to suppress it, right? We can go to the doctor and ask for medication. And sometimes that's helpful. I'm not against medication in any way. But we suppress the expression of fear because we don't like it and it doesn't feel good. And when we suppress, that creates depression. I'm hoping I'm not in the way here. The body depresses. We can only suppress this physical sensation for so long until that will start to take root in the body, right? Think again, this is the nervous system we're talking about here. So when worry, shame, and doubt are what we think about because we're stuck in a mindset of fear and lack, and then we're expressing it through our body through the sensation of anxiety, trying not to fully feel it all the time, the nervous system will depress. And this can lead to depression itself. This can lead to burnout. This can lead to so many things, which is also disintegration in the body. We are out of ease, so we feel dis-ease, and then the body disintegrates. That's burnout. That's stress, the stress response. There's a really amazing documentary called Heal, Heal. The last time I saw it, it was on Prime. And I think I actually saw it on YouTube as well as like a free documentary. And basically what it says is the healthcare system is not good for anything except physical trauma. If you're going to die, we can save you. Other than that, we're making things worse. Because every disease that you have, every injury, it's all from stress. Physical, emotional, mental, it's all from stress because what's happening in the nervous system, it's a chronic stress response, right? It's kind of like the weights on a scale. We're not just like on and then off. That's actually more the way we're supposed to be. That's how the cavemen were, right? Oh my gosh, a saber-toothed tiger. Okay, I'm okay. Rebound, health, back to it. But we're in a place where we're just like in constant fight or flight. If something really dangerous happens, if we don't have adrenal fatigue, fibromyalgia, any type of autoimmune disorder, and I mean, there's even more that I can put here, then we will have the capability, burnout, we will have the capability to like save our lives if we're stuck in a riptide or something. But other than that, we're just in chronic fight or flight. So how long can the heart be at an elevated rate before the heart's going to stop working so well? The kidneys are affected, our blood pressure is affected, our respiration rate is affected, our glucose is constantly being pumped into our body. Of course, we're going to get diabetes. Every dis-ease in our body is caused from stress. And if you look at this is just constant stress. This is where we are right now. How long is the body going to work the way it's supposed to work if this is the state that we're in? It's hard to maintain, it's hard to manage. So the idea with affirmations, the idea with personal development, the idea with the 8 limbs of yoga is to find purpose and meaning in your life. It's coming from a knowledgeable mindset, right? The knowing. If we go back to the kleshas, right? I'll just say them. So number 1 is ignorance. You've forgotten who you truly are. Who are you truly? The idea is you're God, or you're a part of God, or you're a creation of God, for sake of like argument or anything like that. Okay. If you've forgotten who you are because you're ignorant to it, then you've misidentified as your ego. Right? I'm fat, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm broke, I'm this, I'm that, I'm unhappy, I'm busy, I'm a hard worker, I'm a sister, I'm a mother. So when you identify as the ego, then you feel attachment. You feel attachment to feeling good. That can be many things. That can be like being drunk feels good, being sober feels bad. Right? Having sex feels good. I don't know, not having sex feels bad, or having sex feels bad too. Right? We become attached to feeling good and we become averse to feeling bad. Having emotions is bad, other than happiness. So toxic positivity. Right? I mean, I can go on for hours about the attachment and aversion portion of our lives, but it's a problem because we identify as ego, and then ego wants to feel good and not feel bad. And when we have attachment and aversion, then we have fear. And that's why we suffer. That's the idea within the sutras of why we suffer. And this brings us to this mindset. Want to fix it all? Remember who you are. That's what the sutras say. Remember that you are created so divine and perfect. And when you remember, then we have knowledge. We have Jesus Christ. We have Buddha. We have ascended masters that had the insight, the enlightenment, the gurus, to remember who they are. And when you come from a place of knowledge, the ideas that you will let in consciously are ideas of understanding, thoughts of understanding, because you have a subconscious mindset of faith. You know you're meant to be here. You know you're meant to have green eyes and a couple rolls on your belly. Like, and that's so perfectly you. And that everything that you're doing is exactly what you're meant to do. We can go off down, like humility and all those other things are very important parts of this, right? Because if we go any side of it outside of moderation and balance, then we move over to ignorant mindset again. Because if you get too cocky or too conceited or whatever people are worried about, then you're back in fear. You're only being conceited and cocky because you're afraid that other people won't like you or that you'll look like an idiot or oops, back to ignorant mindset. But when you have faith, when you know that you're here, and no matter what, even if it isn't the perfect thing to do, whatever you've done is right. It's helping you on your path, taking you to where you're meant to be. Then you're coming from a place of faith. I always think about that when things are tough. I think I've already shared, right? The last year, things were tough. I went from $30,000 a month to 3. It was tough. I was like looking at like, whoa, where do I spend my money? How do I pay my bills? What am I gonna do here? I always come back to faith. I've been here before and I was okay. Because I know God's got my back. The universe, whatever, like I'm not triggered by the word God, so I just want to share that. Like insert blank here. Right? 9 billion people in the world, 9 billion versions of God. That can be healthy or unhealthy for you. Just for sake of universe, like whatever word resonates for you. I know that Whatever it is, it's got my back. So I come from faith. I'm also not Jesus Christ or Buddha. I'm not like identifying as the 1% either. I would love to, but then I'd be humbled back into the ignorant mindset very quickly. And I have been too many times. So I'm like, I'm good here, God. I know. I'm striving, but I probably will not be Jesus Christ in this life, and that's okay. And I really do like focus on switching fear to faith as much as I possibly can. And what that takes is repetition. It takes presence. It takes me writing with my left hand to come back to faith. I have to be present. I have to remember. And when you have a subconscious mindset of faith, then the only way that will express through your body is well-being. And when we feel well, we express that. We don't go to the doctor and be like, listen, I'm too happy. Give me some sad pills, right? No, we're like, I mean, it may not be a place of like, look how happy I am, because then again, that's ignorance, right? Instagram, look how amazing my life is. And then I go like kick my dog. When we're well, we express that sensation, that physical sensation, and that equates to happiness. Right? I don't think we're happy all the time. Maybe Jesus Christ was happy all the time, but I think some of the stories tell us that he wasn't. Like he suffered himself, right? He was afraid. Buddha, 40 days. He doesn't eat or drink and just sits under this tree. He suffered like a lot. So when we come from a place of happiness, our body is at ease. We're not in the stress response, constantly up here, right? The body won't disintegrate. It'll actually come from a place of creation. We're well, we're healthy, right? I think of the stress of heart disease, right? It's already proven, it's in a million medical studies, that heart disease is 100% from a place of stress, right? And listen to this. Of all the people that have heart disease, 50% of them, their first symptom will be a heart attack. Of those 50%, 50% of them will die. So 25% of all people that have heart disease, their first symptom is death. This is the nervous system in stress response pumping you full of steroids. We already know steroids are not good for you. They don't just make you angry or shrink your penis. Like there's so much more to it. In fact, if you know someone who has been sick with some type of inflammation, like a tumor, and they get put on dexamethasone, what happens? Immediately they start to swell themselves. Their skin gets really puffy, and they need to be safe. They need to stay away from people that are sick because their immune system goes down into their boots. But it's a full body reaction. When I myself am put on something, because I get skin rashes, and sometimes it's like full on highs and it won't go away. So I need like Benadryl doesn't, I need to go. I need to get like an antihistamine, and I need to get like a dexamethasone and some kind of steroids cream on my skin so that it'll take away the inflammation. They'll only put it on for like 3 days because anything after that is chronic use and is very unhealthy for the body. So we're just pumping ourselves full of it 24/7, adrenaline, like epinephrine, norepinephrine, corticosteroids, and it's just taking its toll on the body. And that's where the breakdown comes. That's where the disease comes from, dis-ease. That's where the disintegration comes from. The heart can no longer keep beating at like 132, 24 hours a day. So the muscle will get damaged. Right? Of course, diet and exercise fits in on that, but the diet and the exercise often fall because of stress. Right? I don't have time to cook properly. I don't have time to exercise. I'm so busy. So this is kind of like the idea of ego, the idea of God, the idea of science, the idea of what's happening every day, like all in hopefully a simple diagram that kind of makes sense. And our health is contingent on how we feel. You know, I'm here in the jungle. As soon as I get home, I just like, oh, I've got a little stream right there in my backyard. I'm in the jungle. This is why I hear motorcycles go by once in a while. Town is like, I don't know, 1 kilometer away. Hako, party town, is like 30 minutes away. The ocean's right there. There's very little drama, and the food comes from the earth around me. Now, I know Costa Rica also has a lot of pesticides, so I'm just throwing that out there. It's not so perfect. But I literally could just go down the street and find a beautiful avocado in the groceries, in the market right there. Whereas I just was spent a month in Canada. I've always been like an organic vegetable buyer, and I'm just like, are you for real? Like, we have farmers markets all the time everywhere. And you can go get like, like beets this big. And there I go back to Canada, I'm just like, oh, it doesn't feel the same. You can eat, well, a lot of things. We've got lots of fruits and vegetables here. What are some things I can't eat? They don't really grow like parsnips, so I'm not missing out on much. There's a lot of root veggies here. Yeah, I mean everything. The thing is like I have a papaya tree right there. I can go, it's not ready yet, but I can go and pick a papaya right off my tree and then bring it into my house. They grow on the side of the road. I have 80,000 banana trees in my yard. I can just go grab some plantains and just like cook them right there. Whereas back home, that's not my experience, though, we have gardens, but we can garden 12 months of the year here, right? Big difference. We can grow all our herbs, like all of those things. Not that I do that, because all I have to do, there's a guy that comes into town with a truck, and I can just grab off the back of his truck whatever he's got for sale. Cauliflower, broccoli, onions, make some pico de gallo, rice and beans, lots of rice and beans. Kale, all the greens, lettuce, all of that. Yep. Anything. Smoothies all the time. It's amazing here. So for me, I find like to go back home, there I am back in the rat race. We're busy. We've got stuff to do. I'm eating like fast food. I'm at Tim Hortons. I've got hash browns. Like I'm just like eating so different than when I'm here. This morning was like bagel egg sandwiches with oh, we had fried cheese. There's a woman here that makes Tico cheese. So Tico is like local Costa Rican. So we had fried cheese on our sandwiches with some mayonnaise and tomato. It was amazing. That was my breakfast on a bagel. Protein, anything. A lot of pork here. Pork, chicken, cow, soy, whatever you're looking for, we've got it all here. So I can feel the shift in my nervous system when I go home. I even felt like I love that I'm actually in connection with my body, because I've hated my body for so long that I've never really felt it, right? I've recognized that like in order for me to even recognize I'm full, I overeat, because my body has to be really loud for me to even pay attention to it. So connecting with my body, things have shifted. And now what I'm starting to feel is when my nervous system gets activated. And what's amazing is I'm like, oh, I think the only reason I'm feeling it is because I actually have discharge. Like it's not always activated. So when I go back and I'm driving in a car and I don't know, someone stops in the middle of the road, and this can happen in Costa Rica. I mean, we drive here too. But like, and I'm in downtown Vancouver and we slam on the brakes, like boom, there it's activated. And then the next thing I know is like there's something else going on here. Like I just started to realize that this is it when I'm living in North America. This is my constant activation of my nervous system. I'm talking to my kids, there's drama with this, there's that, there's like it just never stops. And here I can unplug. So where are we for time? Okay. So let me see if this is okay. This is it like all put together, right? Actually, this is just what I was saying. It's like there's always stuff coming at, right? And based on the mindset where I'm at, especially if I'm not aware of my stories, then I'm letting in kind of like if I'm running a teacher training, let's say, and what ends up happening is at the end of the teacher training, most of the time, most people are like, oh my God, that was so amazing. I learned so much, you know, whatever, you're great. This is great. The lessons are great. Whatever that is. This was a beautiful experience is probably like 9.999 out of 10 times. That's what I hear. And while I do like live off that, feed myself, feel more worthy, it's the one person that says, I don't know, that I don't know what I'm talking about, or that this experience was terrible, or that I don't know, I was mean, or I didn't like them, or whatever kind of comes up for them. I'm going to hold on to that for a really long time. I'm going to be like, see, no, like 99 people think I'm amazing, but that one person, like, they know that I'm a piece of poo. Like, they know, they told me. I can only hide it for, and then that's what I'm going to focus on, like, literally. Social media, right? How many likes am I getting? And if someone says you're wrong, I'm like, oh, like a full on activation of the nervous system. I'm just like, I'm in trouble. That's where I always go. I'm in trouble. I think I was just in trouble nonstop when I was a kid. Okay, I'm back. When I am clear on what my story is based on the way that, my parents have taught me, then I can start to see how I'm showing up in situations in the world based on that line of thinking. And it gives me an opportunity to think something different because I really am in charge and I really do get to choose. And I think that was the most enlightening thing that I could learn of like, oh, I'm not a victim to circumstance. So I'm just looking, Jen did reply like, how do I explain to others that yoga and personal growth can solve a specific problem? I get it and continue my own practice, but not everyone wants to do this work unless they get more money, lose weight, etc. This is awesome, Jen, because this is going to move into like the attracting clients. Those are clients you don't want to work with. That's it. If they're not ready to see how their own stories are and they have reasons like I don't believe in this or sure, cool, bye. That's a no. Moving on. Because there's 8.999 billion other people that might want to work with me. So I'm not going to spend a bunch of time trying to get you to be my client. And we're going to dive into it. So I love the question and I love how this helps. And then you need to find your voice or you don't need to do anything. The opportunity is for you to find your voice based on these principles and how you see them to share with others, because not everybody wants Colin's version of yoga or even yoga business, right? Some people want Jen Fish's. So learning this stuff and then living this stuff, because I think experience is the base of it, and then expressing. Yeah, I love this. Okay, cool. Thank you, Jen.
Colin, question for you. I'm not a question or something. When you were talking about the emotions and then we are suppressing them, I'm just, what are your thoughts on instead of suppressing the emotions, what about the disassociation that
Oh,
comes
yeah.
from where we actually leave our body? And that can kind of answer, I'm just thinking, is the way I look at it, is people with weight problems or if they want to lose weight, they're not even their body, they're not even aware if they're full or what feels good, what they're eating. So I mean, that to me is an epidemic going on where dissociation, drug abuse, all of that is just that we are so disassociated collectively, with all this stuff coming in, not wanting to feel it. So I know you talked about the suppression, but
Yeah.
there's also the huge of the disassociation. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to touch in on that. Yeah, it's insane. Like it's totally crazy. I don't know if you took a scale, is there more disassociated than suppressed? I don't know where we are. If you look at just the way we are here. And that sort of, to me, I look at it, is that why we need more fear in the northern continent here? More fear-based, the tsunami's coming, this is coming, because nobody's listening. They're so disassociated from stuff that our stuff has to get bigger and bigger, and the warning systems have to get higher and higher to call us back down in.
Right.
So that's just something I wanted to put in because that's what I see, a lot of disassociation and stuff. And it's just insane, and I feel sometimes like the lone sitting duck out here who's grounded in their body and everybody's on another planet, and having lived in India, just an example is that when I first came to India, I felt for the first time I was at home. And statistically, the more poverty that the country is in, the more associated people are in because they're more in for survival. So I felt really at home. And when you're driving a scooter around in India, you got dogs, cows, everything's coming, but you're super present and you weave in so grace. In Canada, if a dog ran out, there's a 5-car pile up, because we're not even present driving our vehicles. So I just wanted to say that is like when your thoughts, I know this, but it's just putting it out there that disassociation is also or suppression.
Yeah, I love that, Melanie. Thank you. What about this? Suppression leads to dissociation.
Can very well, yeah, where we go through and on the other side,
right?
And if we go into psychotic breakdown, I mean, that can happen very much. Yeah.
It's like I think about, like, everyone here, think about when you were 3 years old and you were having a temper tantrum. How did your parents handle that? Right? Like, even I would say I was more conscious parent. I wasn't super conscious. I was not here when I raised my children. And they're adults now, so sorry about that, kids. But like, how did you or your parents handle you when you were having a temper tantrum? Because that is a very vital age to learn how to deal with, accept, process your emotions. That's a kid having a lot of feelings and just like letting it out, right? Well, I know I was hit. I was told that was bad. Don't do that. My kids, they were acting out. They were being bad. I put them in timeout. What are we teaching people? We're teaching kids from such a young age to suppress, which if these feelings are so strong, because I know I have emotions and I know how they feel, they're so strong I can identify as them. I am sad, right? I am angry. So if we have these feelings and we're told they're bad and we're not supposed to have them, then our bodies are bad. Immediately, where do we go?
It's insanity. Like, it's beyond insanity how one snowballs into the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. And when you chase it around and you just see it all, it's like poof. It's like, holy shit.
It's sad.
It is holy.
Right?
It is. It's very sad. Yeah, it is. But that answers back as like the unawareness.
Yes.
Not even being aware of this, and imagine collectively if the whole planet became aware, all this insanity would stop.
Right.
Like, it would just be, yeah. But that's I could just talk about all this stuff forever. But right? I just wanted to bring up the disassociation as well as the suppression, because I think they're both two different things. Yeah.
The
cool,
grounding, thanks. I think, is so important because it's the connection in the body. That's where I had the insight. One day I spent some time, I talked to my dad. I said, I remember the day. This is what happened. He remembers the day. He says, I knew that your sister was thinner than you. And I mean, I was 6, she was 5. Already people were saying, like, she should be a model. She's so beautiful. Look at her. And there I was. And I'm the older sister. She's the beautiful sister. And I'm obviously a little bit chubbier because, well, not obviously. So here we are. I'm talking to my dad, and he says, I remember, your sister was super thin. She was so beautiful. Everybody was always talking about how she should be a model. And I knew that this was going to be a thing for you. So here he is trying to help me. It's okay if you're a couple pounds overweight, because he knew if I tried to compete with my sister that I would be unhealthy because I didn't have the same body. So this is what he shares with me. That's awesome. Great. Also, there's the other things, right? It wasn't just like one day that I put my pair of pants on. It was many days of the perfect woman has a thigh gap, blah, blah, blah. So I take in this idea. I talk to him. He tells me this. I also tell him, like, I know you're unhappy I quit med school and that I've been trying to, like, make you proud for my entire life. And I realized I couldn't, and that's why I quit. I wanted to do yoga. And he says, I was disappointed and I love you. Oh, that's all I wanted. That's why I went to med school, just to prove
Yeah.
it was good enough for you to tell me that you love me. Wow, this was a day. So much healing took place. I started to repair the relationship with my body. I started to learn about the koshas. I wish I could
Mhm.
like dive into that, but it's not part of curriculum. And I started to connect to my own body. And I realized I had a teacher training. It was a very hard teacher training. And I come back and I got really stressed out. My grandma died. There was some problems with some students. It was like a whole thing. And I actually stopped eating, which is like a default when I'm really stressed. And so I stopped eating. I barely ate. I come home. I'm at my condo in Hako and I'm by myself. It's my downtime and I cook some chicken and roasted veggies. And there I'm cooking for myself and there's a little bit left over. And I don't want to put it in the fridge. So I eat it. And I'm sitting there and I'm so uncomfortable. Like my tummy hurts. I can't think of anything else but how uncomfortable I am in my body, and it hits me. This is how I have been eating my entire life. I'm so disconnected, dissociated from my body that my body basically has to scream at me. Any autoimmune disorder, right? The
Yeah.
body attacks itself to try to get our attention. And so this is what I tell like my daughter all the time is the the anxiety is your body talking to you. You see it as bad, so you try to shut it down.
Mhm. Yeah. And it just
It's so,
wants you to come home. Come
that's
home.
it. It's
Get
just being
back in
like,
there. Come
hey,
home.
yes.
Come on home.
Yeah,
Yeah, I grew up in a family where both my parents weren't even present.
right,
I mean, for no other reason. I mean, there was no alcoholism, there was nothing. They just weren't there. The bodies were there, but nobody was home.
right.
And it took me a long time to come home. And it's so neat when you do this work, like you said, writing all the time. Now that I have learned and kept coming present, I had to go through all the feelings, I had to go through everything else. Being out of my body is the most uncomfortable feeling. I go, whoa, something's happening here. I don't like this at
Ah,
all. And I got to come home. I
yeah,
don't like it. There's drawbacks of being home. You feel your pain a lot sooner,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's also a good warning sign. So
yes,
yeah, disassociation is, I think, huge in the northern hemisphere. I think it's very much huge, and yet it's the opposite. I think in the southern hemisphere.
right.
Hemisphere, yeah, in a global way, which is really weird how duality is showing up in those ways and on the whole planet. So
Yeah,
anyhow, I just thought I want to add that too there.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Melanie.
Thanks.